Here we are up in the Oak Suite at Shelbourne Park, once again discussing the second round action of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. For the first time in this year's competition, the field will be halved over the next two nights. Tonight we saw the 48 grounds in action, whittled down to 24. Kevin Hennessy joins me again. Some really dramatic action, some fine displays, plenty to talk about. We'll kick off with the opening heat. Droopy's Good. Many were expecting to struggle to get across from trap 5, but as we did give it a mention during the week in one of our Zoom chats that there is a potential that he'd just clear them and go on to lead all, and that's exactly what he did. Those that took the 5-1 during the week were handsomely rewarded because he never looked like getting picked up.
No, he didn't. He stayed much stronger tonight. Conditions looked pretty good underfoot at that stage of the evening. Glenn Quinn Pat was key, wasn't he? He didn't trap particularly well.
He walked out from four, and that was just, the room was there then.
Exactly, and then he moved in as well when he did come away, and he not sort of created a barrier for Droopy's Good, because I think we'd be doing him a disservice, but he just made the race. I was nervous all week about Glenn Quinn Pat. If he started, could there be a collision? But I must say, I actually thought Droopy's Good would dive left a little bit more violently than he did. He obviously did move across, but he gradually moved across. It wasn't a sudden burst straight across, which I think will help him as the competition goes on if he faced a trickier draw going forward. But mightily impressed. 17-12 to the third corner. That's the kind of gears we know he has, and he'll be hard to peg back if he can keep up that.
The 17-12, you know, it was easily the fastest run of the night to the third bend tonight. You know, we know what this dog is about. Crash, bang, wallop, go to the front and hope to hold on. Tonight there was no hoping involved. He was just a good winner. Jazz Toes ran well in second spot. Mikey Cronin described him later on in the evening in Talking Dogs TV as a good, real, honest dog, and that's exactly what he is. Bit of early speed. When he's up there, if he doesn't lead, he doesn't win, but he gives us all, even when he's headed, and he ran well in second spot. Sing Along Sally, Pat Buckley told me before racing she'd come on for the run. She still needs another run or two, but again, she's still there. She's in the third round of a derby, and she's going to have another week.
She is, and I'll tell you, I'd say Connections are very happy with her, because Nitro Johnny was looming large on her outside around the bottom two bends. I thought she was gone.
He actually passed her, and she came back at him again.
And I thought she was out. And now I know Nitro Johnny ran a little bit wide at the last corner, but he's a strong dog, and I expected him to pick her up. So she had to really dig deep to get to the line to qualify. She did that, and she's in the hat the next night. Jazz Toes, Mikey summed them up brilliantly. Like he is exactly what he says in the thing. He starts well. Against the elite, he'll probably be found a little bit wanting, but what a dog to own, because you know you'll get a good run every night he runs. Yeah,
Syndicate own him instead of having a great spin out of him. But that Droopy's Good, once again, just going back to him, if you do have an early pace dog in the derby, you don't want him in against you.
No, definitely not, and not necessarily just on his inside. Like if he's on your outside, you know he'll edge in, but 17-12, even if all the other heats were, tomorrow night's heats were ran tonight, it would have took something special on tonight's going to match that. That was very impressive for the third round.
A dog that did 16.96 last week didn't quite reach the same heights tonight. Jack's Little Thing won the second heat, while last week was all about crash bang, you know, pure brilliance from the front. Tonight was about, I got to get racing here. He showed great determination into the corner after a slow start, drove the bend to go second, charged down the back straight to pass Cool of Any Chick, and then stayed on well to win in 29.71. In hindsight, it was a hell of a run. I'd say Connections were a little bit worried in the first few strides when he's last to hit the ground, and still after 5 or 6 strides he's still struggling, and then all of a sudden there was a bit of a whoosh moment into the corner to go second. In the end he wins with minimum of fuss, but there was that few strides where you were a bit worried.
Absolutely. I was standing beside Graham on the back straight watching the race. I think he went few when he got around the opening bend, and for a period into the corner it didn't look great for him. He was on the outside of a line of him. I do think Magical Jasper helped, because about 20 yards from the corner he just moved in, and it just gave Jackson Thing that little bit of space and that chance to drive the bend. But I was nearly more impressed with him tonight than I was last week, and the reason being, I've always known the ability he has when he gets to dominate things. Personally, and maybe it's on me, my fault, I not that I questioned him when he got behind, but he just struck me as a dog that likes to dominate from the front, and I wondered what would happen when he didn't get away and he had to come from behind, and he answered that significantly tonight. Like, I know Cool of Any Chick probably needs to run and she will come on again, but he was awesome. He took off after her down the back straight, and that showed me the determination that will be needed to win a derby, because it won't always go your way from the front. So the night that he's behind, he answered that question for me tonight. I think he can dig in and qualify when things get a little bit tougher.
Yeah, he really closed on it quickly and went straight by, got a 3-4 length lead in a matter of strides. It was very impressive, very taking on the eye, but when he does reach the top company, he can't afford that start.
No, and that it'll come back to that. But look, we saw last week. It's not like he throws in these regularly. He's normally a very, very consistent good starter. I questioned how he would react the night it didn't go according to plan. It didn't tonight. He still came out on top. I was very taken by his performance.
Yeah, Kulavani Chick, you said she'll come on for the run. I think that's without question. And Kulavani Sando, we spoke to a very, very happy Karen Gagan after the race, and she's having a great twist out of these dogs. Of course, she's more to come tomorrow night.
She does, yeah. And she had a pup over the far side all night with her tonight as well, getting a bit of experience around spectators to see how he handles it when it comes to his turn. But Neelis's dogs, like, it doesn't matter what sort of dog he turns up with, they're running now with their skin at the moment. Yeah,
anything this fella does at this stage in his career is a bonus. He is only in October, he's still a puppy. Moving on to Heat 3, this was, it was textbook by Ballymacart. It's what she's all about. She gets to the front, she keeps on rolling. She got to the line. Carrigaline North runs well in defeat, couldn't get there, never really looked like getting there. I actually thought it was closer at the finish than I gave her credit for in the commentary. I thought she'd held on by 3 parts of a length, but he was right on her. And Spinosaurus, he's a fast greyhound that's coming the right way. He's going to win. He's going to win shortly. May not be in the Derby, but he's going to win a race in pretty emphatic fashion. On the outside, there was no look for Stories Pee-wee or Gaytime Milo or Sweep the Yard. Gaytime Milo, Stories Pee-wee got in each other's way on the corner, and then there was another bump off the second bend. That cost them their chance, but all about Ballymacart. Liam's dogs are in great nick, and the ladies are in great nick during this Derby, and Ballymacart is just one of them.
Yeah, no, she absolutely flew. She winged out as she so often does. She set a strong gallop. Carrigaline North, the dog we talked about last week and on the Zooms, who was a real eye catcher last week, he backed that performance up again. I'm sure Thomas Buggy will be over the moon with him going home. But Ballymacart, she's so ever consistent. You know exactly what she's going to do. She needs to dominate, dictate things, you would imagine, going forward in this Derby, but she's capable. She really is. Like 17:28, track seemed to just get a little bit slower.
A bit dead or something. It wasn't quite. They weren't bouncing along it.
No, and I thought she was doing a bit quicker actually to the third bend as well. So 17:28, I think, is a little bit better than it would suggest. But she's so ever consistent, and another one you don't really want drawing on your inside because you know how quickly she can go to the corner. Carrigaline North, a real eye catcher, and you're right on Spinosaurus. I hadn't really seen much of this lad to say that he could be very, very good, but I overheard Owen talking, I think, on Talking Dogs TV, and you could tell by him, even pre-race, that he's like, this is a real nice dog, and like he's only learning. But when Owen now, he would know from talking to him more than me, he wouldn't normally give away much, so I'd definitely be noting him in your notebook.
Yeah, he's definitely one I'd be noting. He's slowly getting there. There's plenty of pace, that's the main thing. 3 in 19 whelps. Of course, Ballymacart is a January 19. She seems like she's a lot older. We seem to have seen an awful lot of her, but she's a real star. The next heat, we'll go through this one quickly. It finished up a dead heat between the Machine and Price's Jet. Subsequently the Machine was called in for one conduct trial, and it means he can't progress. It means that Deadly Samurai will qualify in third spot. We'll get to the incident in a moment. Firstly, Deadly Samurai set the pace. We expected that. 17:57 to the third bend and completely folded. I would suggest there's no question it wasn't anything like his run last week. It was he was much further back on the clock in terms of his running. Maybe the dead track didn't suit him, but I'd be a bit disappointed by Deadly Samurai. He does progress, but again, he needed a look to do so. Yeah,
look, you would have said if he was to lead in the corner and 30:17 would have been the winning time, that he definitely would have won. Look, maybe Carl
he did 29:65 last week.
Exactly. So maybe everything wasn't just all right. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not speaking that I know of anything. I don't know. For my own lad, Price's Jet missed the break a bit tonight. Took a bump at the bend and seemed to, when he cleared Deadly Samurai between the bottom 2 bends, just drop his hindquarters.
They just came in contact, but that's his tendency to edge for the inside when he gets the chance.
Absolutely, he'll take that gap if it appears. Now he walked out there perfectly. I don't see anything wrong. I'm just hoping, because like even the time there, 30:17, it was the slowest of the night, and it raised my eyebrows a little bit. Even the 17:57, like, you're spot on. Like, Deadly Samurai would do that in third gear most nights. So yeah, look, a strange affair all round, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Machine obviously got loose down the back straight, took off into the third bend. He's forced to stay around the outside. In fairness to the dog, he does always drift from out to in up the home straight every night, no matter if he's on his own or if there's dogs in his inside. I think it was the last 3 strides that made up the mind of the stewards. just seemed to, while he was leaning, edging, the last 3 strides, it's very hard to see 2 black greyhounds racing side by side, lots of bumping. I don't know. If it hadn't been for maybe the one night in the Kirby, he may well have gone through, but did that play in their minds?
I don't know, I wasn't in there. All I can say is what I saw on the video when I came in, and look, it didn't look great, but I do understand what you're saying. He has a tendency to swing off that last bend and edge inwards. They definitely came together, and look, the judges over the far side, that's their job, they're paid to do it.
I'm glad we're not paid to do it. No, I must be said, if I had the choice, mainly because I've backed him anti-post, I'd have let him through.
Yeah, no, I think, to be fair, and I know I might get criticised, I genuinely do think it was the right decision, and I feel terrible saying that, because we've all had them. We've had loads of them, and there's literally nothing you can do. Like the Team Matthews, like, it's going to affect them worse than anybody. Like, do you know? And I think that the reason it may have a part to play in what happened at the Kirby, but going forward, because you know he's going to be such a good dog to qualify and stuff like that. Like, imagine it had something similar would have happened at the semi-final or the final. And look, it is what it is. The pictures didn't look particularly great. I feel sorry for the Matthews more than anybody else, because at the end of the day, they're going to be hurting more than anyone else. He's their dog. He's been a brilliant greyhound for them. You see the ability he has. Like, he's an incredibly gifted animal, and he just has that knack in him, and it's unfortunate. And I feel sorry for them going home tonight, because they had a real chance with this lad in the Derby. Saw what he'd done in the BoyleSports.
He was guaranteed to be in the semi-final.
There you go. And like, I know people can be quick to criticise him and say this and that about him, but at the end of the day, like, they've done a brilliant job to try and keep him on the straight and narrow, and they've done well with him successfully until now, and it's just an unfortunate incident. Yeah,
like in between Deadly Samurai and the front two was Amadeus Luke. I must say I was a little bit dismissive of his claims during the week, because I thought he'd struggled to clear trap 2 Mountain Maestro, but when he missed it and Amadeus Luke came away well, I thought he did the corner. This dog is a real life, but your fella got around him, and once your fella got around, you knew he was going to, take a world of catching. As it was. He had a freak in the machine chasing him home, and it got tight to finish. But you must be happy with Price's Jet. He's there, lives to fight another day. I am, and I'll be happier when he gets checked out, when he gets the all clear. The way he dipped at the bottom 2 bends, just a little muscle tweak or something.
I just took a breath in a brief intake, and 30-17. Look, I'd expect him to go close to a second quicker than that if he done things right out there. So yeah, I think there's plenty more to come from. Fingers crossed he'll be better next week. Yeah, we're just glad we're not stewards. That would have been a tricky one. Moving on to Heat 5 of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. Just the 5 runners. Billy's Diva, unfortunately, a non-runner. I must say, if I'd been given 4 darts, I may not have even tipped Gordon. Against your fellow. Okay, I was just trying to be nice to you. I'd have tipped him in to be 4th. Yeah. But like, that's not to do the service to the dog. We know how good he is in terms of his consistency, his ability. Tonight was a career best effort by Gord Kelly Nestor. Andy Murray was bouncing in the interview afterwards and Talking Dogs TV, but suggested that the dog had a problem. He thought on Monday morning he wouldn't run tonight. He didn't know how he'd run. As it is, he goes up strongly, he leads into the corner, holds Broadstrand Ryan down the back straight. He's still there on the outside. Ballymac Fairone comes to join him, drives the 3rd bend, goes on, wins as you like. If you were looking at it from the outside in, you'd go, yeah, I suppose that dog was probably favourite the way he ran. He seemed to have the measure of his rivals. It was a fine display by Gord Kelly Nestor, and one for Andy Murray. Great to see, I'm not saying the small man, but a man that doesn't have many greyhounds winning on a night like tonight, and he really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, no, I think you summed it up spot on, Ian, there, because like, he won on merit, and I think that's what you're describing there was literally coming around to that. Like, there was no fluke about this. No fluke. And I was literally talking to Shane Dowling before racing tonight, and he was a dog that came up in conversation, and Shane was raving about him, and I was similar enough to you. I thought he was a real good, honest, open dog who would win his fair share of races. Maybe against mini open type dog. Yeah, maybe against the two behind the good maybe ones. Against the proper AAO dogs, the Broadstrand Ryans, the Ballymac Fair ones, he might be found a little bit wanting. He was short of nothing tonight. He wasn't found looking for anything. He went up, he went down the back, and he stayed. Yeah, and the boys in behind, like, there wasn't. We saw Broadstrand Ryan ease again at the 3rd bend. That's just his style of running, unfortunately. Now it's going to be more pronounced when there's dogs on his outside, and that's exactly what happened. Last week, bit more fluent, and we said maybe he's getting the hang of it. But tonight, when there was dogs on his outside and he did that,
going forward, it's a real concern for his connections and backers.
Yeah, no, you would be. We spoke last week about how improved he was, and I think that's the key. I think when he's in front and he gets a clean line at it, he does run it a bit sweeter. But he definitely tonight it was more alarming how he eased on the corner, and Ballymac won. Like, he ran a good race in defeat here as well. Like,
didn't get a start.
No.
Powers down the back.
Yeah.
And then finds little home.
Yeah, I think he just ran out of steam. Like this dog, I would imagine, Shane didn't discuss this with me, but I would imagine this dog done extremely little since Toaster. A young dog who went over there with very little racing, gets to the final, and then I would imagine it was a complete freshening up. I think they took the Champion Stakes probably as a trial stake, gave him a run, let's see how he goes. Didn't go according to plan that night.
Give him 2 weeks off.
And so I think he's one that should come forward. And looking at the race, when Billy's Diva came out, he had a vacant box inside him. The likes of Supremo, I'd say they were fairly confident of going through. So I'd expect him to come on and stay on. But Gord Kelly Nestor, I couldn't give enough superlatives tonight. Won on merit tonight in a very good race, and definitely one we'll have to give a little bit more respect to going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you look to the runners that were in the race, the 5 runners, that win tonight brought him over €17,000 in prize money, considerably more than any of his rivals. Moving on to Heat 6 of the Derby, and here's Scooby Princess. What a star! 3:48, 17:35. But 17:35, 29:40. You do the maths. That's hell of a run. Ballymac Wild is on her tail at the third bend. She kicked again. She wins comfortably. She is a special lady.
Oh no, like Ballymac Wild, it gets to the point where you've used all the superlatives for her. You're calling her the same thing over and over again, and you nearly feel like you're doing her an injustice. Tonight was her at her absolute best. Tonight was just an incredible performance from start to finish. She winged out, she held her line to the corner, she took the corner. You knew off the second bend, whatever chance Wild had of beating her, he had to hit her before the bottom 2 bends, because off the last bend she kicks again. And like Ballymac Wild, I was saying this to Jennifer and Shane, we were talking over the far side, like, he's a 600-yard dog, like, who's won the 600 here. Like, he wouldn't be slowing down. And off the last bend, she grows another leg and she just explodes again. It was breathtaking to watch.
12:05 from the third bend. It's there.
That was the real eye catcher. Like, that she only done 17:30. That's what I was saying to Jennifer the far side. Like, only 17:35, 29:40. It must be up there with some of the very, very best runs from the third bend.
Certainly of the leaders of the third bend is the fastest of the Derby thus far. Ballymac Wild again runs his good honest race in second spot. We know where he'll be in the semi-final night. He'll be there somewhere, drawn in 1, 2 or 3. Gunboat Showman ran a fine race in third spot for Sean Kenny. He's a strong running tracker at a dynamic trend. She tends to throw them strong, but this fellow never really gave an inch in behind. He just ran hard.
Yeah, no, he did. He matched them all the way. Like, he's form over 600, so you'd expect him to stay on, but he really did. He stuck to the task tonight, especially when you look at the 2 in front of him. Like, the 2 in front of him you would imagine, if luck is on their side, will be in the real latter stages of the competition. But he was right there on their coattails for a long, long way. 29:40. That run for me was a lot better than the clock suggests. That could have easily been a 29:20 run out there on a real fast track tonight.
I've always said Scooby Princess wants trap 4. I think it's her box. She moves to trap 4, which is on the inside. She moves into 4, which is on the outside. And tonight, with the lack of early pace in the race, it was just the perfect storm. She won't have things as easy in the future, but we know she can do it from off the pace as well, and you certainly wouldn't rule her out going to the latter stages. Moving on to Heat 7, it was a messy enough affair. We knew there was going to be a bit of a cavalry charge into the corner. The only dog probably likely to guaranteed to miss the traffic was Sizzler, because he stays so wide, and that's exactly how it happened. Triangle Hugo cut inwards from boxes. Macho Pride arrived with the rush on the bend. There was a bit of a schmozzle, shall we say, and Sizzler scoots around the outside, finds himself 6 clear, pulls further clear down the back straight, runs out to the Curragh at the final, out into Dublin Bay there at the final bend, and then straightens up and wins by 8 lengths in 30:01. The 30:01 is because he's probably running on the slow side of the ground so wide, and he's given away so much ground, but he's just a hard running greyhound. On the straights he's as fast as many.
No, he definitely is, and I suppose it's probably a bit of a justice case for Sizzler, because running wide in so many races has cost him victory, and tonight running wide gained him victory because he was able to steer clear of it. Coombe Leo edges in. Kamiko, maybe we put the mockers on him because we were saying it in one of the previews, like, he's so good at using his size to his own ability. Like, if he goes up in the corner in 3, he's no problem cutting the snout off one. If he goes up on the inside, he's no problem dropping the shoulder. Coombe Leo was edging in. Kamiko was rushing up on the inside. it was only ever really going to end in one way. And Sizzler, like, he's just running, but I know he runs wide. Tonight, I didn't even think he was going to turn after the last bend. It was incredible.
He's white painted his right shoulder.
He was nearly on the grass. Like, and I know you look at the clock and you go 30:01. Like,
give them 4 lengths at the last bend.
It's incredible. Like, how a dog can still do close to 30 seconds, and he's a 29.70 run done. Run in where he runs, because he's definitely running 5.75 yards every time he runs. It's incredible to watch. But I in a way, I'm glad that his wide running style helped him tonight, because so many times it's cost him victories. Tonight it earned him at one.
Brendan Murphy chuffed with himself, triangle Hugo there another night. Good starter. Once the inside, I didn't think he was going to dive in quite as much as he did. I don't know how Grange Mac found himself third. I assume he missed traffic off the second bend and landed into third spot. I had to glance out the window because obviously he wasn't on the screen, and I'm sort of peering around the corner to see what was third. It was Grange Mac. I don't know how he got there. I'll have to review it again in the morning.
I think he picked it up going into the third bend. I'm pretty sure he was fourth down the back. He moved into third just on the crest of the second last bend, and he stayed there.
I dare say Pat Guilfoyle wouldn't have been heartbroken if he'd gone out, because I think he's the juvenile derby in his sights.
I think I heard him saying, maybe I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but whoever was walking in the dog, I think when they were walking at the car park, I think I heard him saying he'll learn a little bit more after that, or something along those lines. Anyway, and he's spot on. Like, he's going to be a real puppy derby prospect, and running in these races.
That's if he's not still in the derby.
Well, maybe so, yeah.
Moving on to the final heat of the round, and All About Ted. This was one of the dogs in the opening round we said would come on for it. He certainly did. 3:43, a good start. Showed good early speed to take that length off Epic Hero into the corner. 17:30 to the third bend, which was a hell of a split when we were talking about the track. Probably just to run that little bit deader towards the end of the evening. I thought Epic Hero ran a blinder in second spot. That was more like it from the Ledger champion. I'd say Tommy O'Donovan is chuffed with himself, but All About Ted, Peter Cronin, Willie Rigney and Richard Brown have every right to feel absolutely delighted about All About Ted. He's a challenger going forward because he can do it all. He starts and he stays, and he's just a really solid, hard running greyhound.
Yeah, and they had a few quid on as well, by the sounds of things off Peter. He was gloating to me over the far side, so clearly they fancied him, and it was much more like it was the battle of the night. Two dogs that were sort of subpar last week, I think it's fair to say. Neither of them really fired last week. Both were, we had question marks, were they going to make that step forward, and both of them did. Going into the first bend, you knew we were going to get the race we wanted to see. Two exceptionally talented greyhounds, and it was game on. All About Ted won it with that last 25 yards to the corner, when he just took the corner. Epic Hero in behind, tried a number of times to pick a route.
Off the second bend, he found himself close enough that he was forced to check. Then he went again to the third bend. He never looked like he was going to get up the inside, but again the door was closed, and then sort of steadied himself for the last challenge. But in fairness to All About Ted, that last 25 yards, he just kicked again.
He did, because it looked like Epic Hero had got to his hindquarters maybe midway up the home straight, but he never closed on that part. Like, I think it was 3 parts of a length, or a length at the winning line.
It was a length,
Yeah, so like All About Ted, and it did look for a brief second that Epic Hero was going to have another lunge. Now maybe Epic Hero had tried and failed once or twice, and he just ran out of gas himself. But it was I think both Peter and Thomas will be over the moon, and I know Thomas is, because he was talking to me over the far side. I'm just delighted he's back, he said. Those were his words. And like, look, he's had a few unfortunate races up here. I think Thomas said to me over there that that's only his 4th race this year. That's the kind of calendar year he's had with him to date so far. He's now showing that he's back in doing 29.60 odd, like you said, on a deader track. Could be a 29.40 run. He's back in the Derby. He's now a player again. Needs to keep up that starting. That's the key to him. If he keeps up starting, we know how good he is. And All About Ted, a cracking win, and I'm sure he'll build on that. A special mention for Cricket Bell, Donald O'Neill over the far side. He's
chuffed with himself.
He's some character over there. I said it to him afterwards. We can't get rid of you. So I really hope he goes another couple.
He spoke. His son is watching from California. But he's hoping to come back, and he's delighted with himself. You know, Robert obviously asked him, "Have you had Derby runners before?" No, me first. And he's in the third round of Derby. And as he said himself, you never know what might happen. And he's the type of dog he'll be absolutely hammering home. He did a bit more running early tonight, so it didn't look to the eye like he was finishing fast. But it's because the two in front are just still going. They're running hard up front, but ran a big race in defeat Cricket Bell, and you know, I had a small nibble at 16 to 1. You know what I mean? So it would have been nice if he got up to win, but he didn't.
Yeah, no, and like I'm pretty sure this dog, you'll correct me anyway, I think this lad was running in 5.75s in that earlier in the year, so like stamina should be on his side as well, and when it gets into the Derby, into the latter stages, stamina counts for a lot, because it gets tough as you go along.
War of attrition.
Yeah, exactly, and I really mean it. I hope he stays in, because I must say Donald has been a pleasure over the far side. He brings a right bit of crack, and I hope Cricket Bell can go another couple of rounds.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'm sure Donald's hoping the very same thing. That's it. We've seen the first 8 second round heats of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. On Saturday night, we'll see the remaining 8. It means we'll be down to the last 48 following Saturday night's action. Still loads of action left in this BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby, but things are starting to get pretty tight. Join us next time.